Again, welcome to the Bad Mom Podcast. I'm Anastasia, your host. Today we have Douglas Russo on the podcast to talk about the Proud Boys and our experience in DC. Doug is a proud member of what he calls the greatest fraternity on the planet, the Proud Boys.
And
He is a proud Western man who loves America because it's the beacon of light in this whole world. He likes to work out. He works as a local union laborer. He is a believer and he teaches the youth at his church. His values match those of the Proud Boys, and we'll get into that. Um, he thinks men should be men and not ashamed of it, and women make men better, and God is the only thing that he will kneel for. He is a true gentleman. I met him in DC this weekend. We had a giant Trump rally, and we'll get into the details of that. His group escorted me and my friends around the city for protection. This weekend, it was a necessity, as four Proud members were stabbed, attacked, other people intimidated on the streets, women, children. I've confirmed this with other people. And I don't. What the news is saying is a little bit different as usual, especially with the Proud Boys in the headline. So that's why it's important for me to get a little bit of different perspective to the world, and that's why we're having this interview. Um, so Antifa and BLM were all around the city attacking small groups of people, and I didn't really see much. I did see people yelling at each other, nothing crazy. I was kind of bored. I was having so much fun though. Um, uh, so I'm sure what's happening during the Trump rally events isn't what's happening, or it could be happening at the when there's not Trump events. I don't really know what goes on in DC, but I don't ever hear that it's a safe city. You could turn the corner, you could be in not so safe areas. So I'm sure it was already unsafe. This whole rivalry between BLM and Antifa are making it a little bit more difficult. So we see eye to eye on things, so we came together and we're going to talk about it. So let's see. I personally felt very respected and treated like, a lady and, just another American patriot. And that's why I think we connected. So I guess what I want to talk about is who you are as a person, and what are you passionate about? What are your
well,
hobbies?
sounds good. I just want to first say thank you so much for having me on your podcast. I really appreciate
Thank you
the
so much.
opportunity. Of course, it's great meeting you, and I'm happy we can work together and maybe make a difference and change people's minds.
Hope so.
Yeah.
Where did you grow up in New York? In New York State?
I grew up, born and raised in the capital of New York, Albany. I was here most of my life. I left for a little while and lived in California for almost a full year. I lived in New York City for about 2.5 years. I traveled Europe. I backpacked for about 5 months. So I've seen the world. I drove across America. I've experienced some things. I went to college, got a 2-year degree. Didn't pursue anymore. Worked in IT for a little while and got really fat and disgusting. So I was like, I don't want to be this guy anymore. So I got out. I went into construction, and life is going a different direction than I assumed at first. But I like it. So it's a good thing.
Awesome, awesome. So what is your experience with the Proud Boys? Like, when did you join them?
I've been in almost 3 years. I enjoy it very much. My experience with them is it's a group of just men that want to hold on to the values that America came up with. I know we're not a perfect country. We've had a lot of ups and downs throughout history, but the greatest part about it is the Constitution that was created by our founding fathers allows these things to change. It allows us to make differences and make things corrected. It allows people to stand up and speak up. With the Electoral College having the minority gets a voice. Abraham Lincoln, let's be honest here, if it was a direct democracy, Abraham Lincoln probably would have lost. So it's a beautiful things, and you have a system that's built to let even somebody that doesn't believe they have a voice have a voice. And that's the things that we hold dear to ourselves. We want free speech. We want the Second Amendment. We want people to be We want little government. We want you, like you're a business owner, you're a businesswoman. I mean, we want you to have the opportunity to grow and thrive and stop being told by the government to give more and more and more, because it's not right. I mean, we worked for it. We didn't work to give it up. We worked for it to give to our families and our future kids and our wives and things like that.
Yeah, definitely this country is full of hardworking Americans, and that's what makes this country so great. But then again, we work so hard and we kind of stay in the middle class, and like it feels like the system isn't really working so well. So yeah, that's why I was encouraged to build a business, and I can get into that. But most importantly, I want to stick to the Proud Boys and like that
Absolutely.
meeting you guys. I was expecting a bunch of like rowdy gang members, but you guys seem like very well organized, and I feel like there was one mission, and the mission was safety. um did you feel unsafe in DC?
I personally didn't feel unsafe. I went down there knowing what to expect and knowing what was going on, and I went down there with my brothers, so we knew we had each other's backs. Though the last rally we saw people getting harassed, like you mentioned earlier. I mean, women and children, older people, elderly, and they were being harassed by Antifa and Black Lives Matter, attacked, hit, punched, hurt, and just verbally abused. And we decided, like, right away after that, if there's another rally, we have to be there, and we got to make sure that we protect those people, not to let them deal with that or have to experience that. I don't want anyone to ever get hurt. And as a man, my job is to protect women and children. That should always come first as a man. So we stepped up, and we thought that was the way we should go. And I am very excited to be able to have met you and met several other people. I met this gentleman named Adam. He was a great guy with his two daughters, and he was happy that he had the safety of us being there. And it made me feel like I was doing the right thing, and I was honored.
Yeah, definitely. And that's why I'm honored to have you on my podcast, because I want America to see a different side of what they're hearing on the news and reading in articles about the Proud Boys. The Proud Boys, you're hardworking American that's taken this weekend off to protect people that I guess believe in certain things and are coming together at a rally. So we should be we shouldn't feel like we need a personal bodyguard for those kind of events, but we needed that, and I really appreciate everything that you guys did. I didn't feel safe going down the street by myself, not after hearing that somebody was maced coming out of their hotel. I'm not sure, do you know about that?
I heard about it. There's actually a little bit of video of it. They're walking out to their hotel, and I guess they were sprayed right in the face by somebody from Antifa or Black Lives Matter because they were had a Trump hat on. They were, very ready to go to the rally, and they were excited. And next thing you know, you're attacked, you're assaulted,
Yeah.
and that should never happen. The funny thing is, the anti-fascists are the true fascists. We protect freedom of speech. I disagree with what they say and what they think, but they can say all they want. They can think that way. That's their right as an American citizen. Where they believe, if you don't think the way I think or talk the way I do, you're you need to stop talking. You need to be silenced, and you need to disappear.
Yeah, and speaking is all we should be doing between both, groups. We shouldn't be physically assaulting them and intimidating them and threatening them. I didn't see the Proud Boys do any of that. I saw a lot of intimidation on Antifa's side, and they were just plain old, people like you and me. So you couldn't really tell who is who. So did you have a hard time identifying them or no?
Uh, I could see. I've gone to some rallies in the local area, and I've started and watching a lot of the videos. You can kind of tell a little bit here and there. I'm not as good as some of my other brothers. Like they're really good at spotting it out. They can see them watching us, videotaping us, paying attention to those things. But to your point, we don't intimidate. We actually, one of our founding, for our chapter at least, is never to attack. We always defend ourselves. We won't throw the first punch, but we'll throw the last punch. We'll end the fight. That's something we stand by. We don't want to be considered violent or angry or aggressive. We are men, but men don't have to be, gung ho, ready to hurt someone. We can just sit back and wait. And if we have to defend ourselves or use our strengths and use our abilities, we will.
Yeah, definitely. So your experience from this rally, was it different from other rallies? Was this like the most intense one or the largest one? Or I don't know how many rallies you've gone to, but that was
Uh,
the biggest one I've been to.
this is I'm with you 100%. It was the biggest I've ever been to. It was absolutely the most intense. Some of my brothers were attacked, so I got maced myself by the police. I can admit. It got a little it got crazy. It got hairy. There's a couple
Can
situations.
can you talk about that situation where you got maced?
Oh, absolutely. Basically, Proud Boys and Antifa were pretty much standing off. They're near each other. As we got closer and closer to each other, it looked like it could maybe uh, turn into something. But the police came and they decided to spray all the Proud Boys. So it's pretty much only the Proud Boys getting maced in the face, which was kind of sad and disappointing. You know, when you think about it, we're the group of guys that actually back the blue. We want police. We understand police are important. We need them in our society. We're the people they were protecting, want them to be defunded, turn into all social workers, and basically not have a job at all. And it actually was kind of heartbreaking a little bit. You're like, wow, I want you to be here and I want you to have this job, and you're protecting them, and that is your job, but you're protecting the wrong people. What about us? What about the guys that are actually trying to keep you guys around forever?
Well, they get their orders from somewhere, right?
True. They do.
So I also felt like the police were just kind of mediators, but at the same time, they didn't really give a shit. uh they were like pissed off that they had to be there kind of thing, but they weren't like really. I didn't feel protected. I felt intimidated. you know the riot gear and the knee pads and all
Yep.
that, like they weren't very friendly either. Like some of them would say hi back because I usually say hi and just acknowledge them, just but they blocked off almost every street. It was like
Good.
even in broad daylight, you could barely like get around. It was hard. I mean, we had to, and that's another problem is if you're trying to, get to your hotel, they got the street blocked and you got to walk. And then when you're on foot, you're on your own.
Absolutely, which is a little intimidating and scary ourselves. When we were trying to get you back to your hotel, we experienced that situation. I mean, they blocked off every street. You had to keep going around other corners, other turns, and it separates people from each other, which is not a good thing. I mean, I got separated from my group for a little while, and like I said, friends of mine got attacked, and I got fireworks thrown at me. I got maced. I mean, things get a little hairy and worse when you're in smaller numbers. I hate to say it, Antifa and Black Lives Matter, from what I've seen, seem to attack small numbers, small groups, and they want to basically use fear to push us into to silence. They don't want us to keep speaking up against it.
Yeah, no, but we have to keep speaking up because I'm
100%.
not going to settle with the violence, especially. They lost me at violence.
I agree, 100%.
The message was lost instantly and made me question what they're actually around for. And it seems like they're only around for election year. So it's time for them to go away, huh?
I agree. Let's see them go back into their holes, back into their
Bye
parents'
bye.
basement. Exactly.
Yeah. I mean,
But
we still don't know what's going on with the election, but I feel like it's they're just getting bigger and training more. It feels like they're very organized. What do you think?
I can't disagree. They're hugely organized. Whoever funds them very well. I mean, they had shields, they had batons, they had weapons and complete almost riot gear themselves in a lot of ways. So it's something that you don't see on our side. I mean, we have some things. We wear helmets, we a little bit of protection here and there, but they were well funded and well geared up,
Yeah, you
which was
guys had vests on, but not nothing crazy. I didn't see any weapons. I didn't see
uh,
much anything except, a bunch of men in a big group just to, I guess, look intimidating. You guys looked a little intimidating, but I didn't feel threatened at any point. I think the public would agree that was there. That's not a Proud Boy, that they were happy that you guys were there.
actually it was actually really nice to experience that myself. When I first got there, we had people that are like, can I take a picture with you guys? You guys are so awesome. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for being the police that the police aren't being, protecting us and making sure we're okay. And as we walked people back and forth from their hotels, it was just, it felt really good to hear them say, oh, you know what? without you, I would be scared to walk back. I'd probably try to take a cab or try to run back. And now I feel comfortable. I feel okay to talk and
Oh,
relax.
that's so sad.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to read a couple of these Proud Boy tenants to our
Absolutely.
listeners because I was handed this while walking around the rally, and that was before meeting you. And I just really, really, I don't understand why anyone could think this. You guys are racist.
I don't see it either. We have men from every walks of this planet. We do not discriminate against race, religion, creed, sexual orientation. We're accepting of everything, and I think people just have this bad warped mind from the left saying that we're just terrible, huge racists, and I've never experienced that myself, so I don't know why they would ever think that.
Well, none of these values line up with the Democrats. So, I mean, I could see why you guys would be the called racist because that seems to be the word flying around as weapons.
It's true. It's their biggest weapon they have is.
I myself have been called racist since posting about the Proud Boys. I've been called a racist Karen, although I have no idea what that even means. Shoot. Oh my God. I
You
apologize.
okay?
One second. Okay. And so here we go. Let's see. The first one says, reinstating a spirit of Western chauvinism. We adopt the blatant and unapologetic promotion of Western civilization, which is characterized by a secular government whose legal code is informed by Judeo Christian ethics and whose origins lie in the Greco Roman tradition of the Republic. The primary values of the West are personal liberty, self determination, and sovereignty for the individual, and the sanctity of life. Minimal government, maximum freedom, pro free speech, pro gun rights, closed borders. That one I want to read for sure. The West is the best. That's why it's the number one destination for immigrants across the world. Nowhere else can you find the same combination of freedom, safety, prosperity, infrastructure, and decency. But we cannot be the world's orphanage. To those willing to travel, to suffer the journey, and to risk their lives, fight for a better world back home, and Godspeed. To those willing to defy the sovereignty of our borders and expect a handout upon arrival, fuck off, we're full.
It's true. We could be a little harsh, but these are honest words.
Well, I mean, I'm an immigrant too, and like I came here legally, and I use the system with my dad, and we figured it out. And my mom, I have two little brothers that were born here. We're proud Americans, and we agree. I mean, my taxes are going to these funded. I don't know what we're really funding. They say it's for one thing, but I still see people suffering. So, and low income neighborhoods struggling right now. So, you can't really understand where the money actually goes.
It's true. A lot of times I'm shocked by, you know, what our actual tax dollars go to when you find out like little details and little things. And you're like, why would that ever go to something like that? Like, I mean, they want to put in the stimulus package to give to people who are illegal immigrants money. It's like they don't pay taxes. They didn't come here legally. Why are we giving them hard earned cash that people made themselves and worked hard for? I mean, it doesn't add up to me. It doesn't make a lot of sense.
You know who it makes sense to, though? The population of Americans that haven't really suffered. They've been living comfortably most of their lives, and they are virtue signaling and helping themselves feel like they did something by voting for these things that they think they're voting for. That's what I think.
It actually makes a lot of sense. I never thought about it that way. They're actually just trying to look like they're the good person, but they're really not. They're actually
Well,
being.
they have no idea if those leaders follow through on those promises. They
That's
don't.
true.
They're not
That's
there
true.
on you know so back to this. Oh, and glorifying the entrepreneur. And that is why I love you guys, because it is awesome. We celebrate the honor of we celebrate and honor the ones who risk everything to improve our lives. The
Absolutely.
inventor, the job creator, the men whose failures and innovations have shaped the modern world, the true enemies of poverty. Fortune to the bold, glory to the brave. Love it. I love
Absolutely.
this. and venerating the housewife.
Very important to this world. I mean, without them, men couldn't be men. They couldn't do the things they, as men should do: protect, serve, honor. I mean, women make every man better. Like if a man finds the right woman, he's going to be successful. He's going to be successful in so many different ways. Without women, we need to make sure women know that we're not against you. We're for you 100%. We want you with us. We want to go forward with you. We are nothing without you. We understand that God created two sexes for a reason. He created a man and a woman. He created, one flesh when you marry that person. So honor that, protect that, fight for that.
Amazing, amazing. The anti-political correctness, that stuff really pisses me off. I agree.
Me too. Curse all day. Say what you want.
Yeah.
Don't hold back.
Yeah. So, I mean, you guys don't discriminate. And, the First Amendment protects a God given right, the freedom of speech, not
100%.
freedom from speech. So, we're all entitled to our own opinions, but it seems like the political correctness is completely not, liberal, or it chooses what it wants to, pick and choose to decide what's right and what's wrong for everyone. That stuff is just so un-American. I don't even know what we're becoming at this point.
I'm with you. I don't either. I get blinded some days. I'm like, what? I mean, Berkeley, one of the most freest, free speech in the 1960s, is now like, oh, you can't say certain words, you can't say certain things. It's like, or certain phrases. You're like, you're Berkeley. That's where the protests for the Vietnam War were happening. That's where huge amounts of free speech was taking place. I mean, that's where kids stood up and started speaking up against the government and their wrongdoings. And it's like, now you're telling people not to say anything. That's a complete reversal. It doesn't make sense. It's lost me a lot. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. And then, one of the things that affects almost every family in America, the anti-drug war. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Well, there's always some tenets that you're not 100% sure about yourself. I mean, I believe certain drugs should be legalized. I'm a pro, legalizing marijuana. I think marijuana is okay. I'm pro legalizing mushrooms because it's natural and things like that. But some of the more processed drugs, myself, I'm not 100% sure about it. But I know we've lost a lot of money and spent a lot of money fighting a war that seems to be a losing battle. So maybe there's
Yeah.
a better approach we should start taking. And I agree with that part of our stance. Like we need to figure another way out through this and another way to fight this. Because
Well, okay. So where I come in that whole thing is, I don't think prescription drugs were a solution. So, and I think that's where the war came from. We have a lot of people that are addicted to illegal drugs because they got started on prescription drugs.
that's
So,
100% true. You start taking opiates from the doctor and then they don't give you any more. And you're like, I'm going to go find something else to do.
well, that's really awesome that you guys even raised that as one of your tenants. The anti-racial guilt. Okay, that one right there. Let me just say, it really pisses me off when people say white people and racism, they're the only ones, like, they could be racist, but black people against white people or whatever, it's not existent. So you can't be racist against white people. It's not a thing. It's a thing. It's a thing all the time right
100% a
now.
thing. Of course.
Yeah.
I've had these conversations with people I work with, friends of mine, and they say it. I mean, everyone can be racist. It's not just white people. I mean, people can hate somebody. Racism is based on hatred of your skin, not just dictating power, or they're trying to change the definition of racism, which is kind of insane. It's like, I guess when you want to pick and choose, you can decide to change words definitions. I don't
Yeah,
understand.
right. No, that's exactly what it is, because racism is feeling a certain way about a group of people, color, race, sex,
Yeah.
right? Sorry, that's just discrimination. But I'm Russian and I can't really tell what you are. We're both white, but that, like, Caucasian is just such a big mush of people that you can't, I don't even understand that. But
It
I
is.
like how you guys brought that up, because it's bullshit. Like, why are we even identifying the race? Why can't we just be people and Americans?
Absolutely. I mean, people say you can't, what's the big thing now? You can't say you're colorblind anymore. I mean, let's be honest here. I can
What?
see. Yeah, you're not allowed to say that anymore. That's a racist statement now. Oh, I'm colorblind. I don't think people are trying to be like stupid. Yes, I can see color. I can see somebody's black, white, to see somebody's Asian. But the thing is, it's as Martin Luther King said, we actually look at your character, not your color. That's when people say we're colorblind. Is I'm looking at your character, not who you are on the outside. I want to see your heart. I want to see the way you think. I want to see your passions and your drives in this world, not your skin color. That doesn't mean anything to me because that's not what makes a person. What makes a person is what's inside of them.
That's right. That's right. And at the end of the day, we're all Americans, and we
Oh,
keep
100%.
dividing ourselves, and we should just be listening to each other.
Oh,
So,
100%. I can't disagree with you at all.
but it seemed like, the Proud Boys were very, like, I don't know, a little angry this weekend. Is it the animosity of the police treating you a certain way? Or like, it felt like, there was a little bit of tension, but was it just because of the police and the constant attacks? And then you said that people were getting attacked and the police wasn't coming to help after the fact. That part was a little confusing. Like, the cop didn't want to leave the corner thing. I kind of want to talk about what the police did this weekend, because I feel like it's important that we discuss that.
Well, from what my group, and myself and some other members that we've talked to throughout the country experienced a little bit, they seemed to cut us off. They seemed to hurt us into different directions. They seemed to, as us Proud Boys, keep us separated so we couldn't get into a large group or couldn't get together. Which, like we talked about earlier, strength in numbers, and Antifa likes to surround and attack as many people with as many people as they possibly can against a smaller group to do damage and to hurt people. And I think we were on high tension. We were on high tension because of what's been going on around America throughout this whole year. I mean, burning down cities, burning down neighborhoods, taking over autonomous zones. I mean, in Washington D.C. right now, there's a plaza that is now basically autonomous. They have their own, own little government going on, their own little thing going on. Black Lives Matter Plaza, and these are things that shouldn't be. This is America. I should be able to walk down every street corner I want, every street, stop anywhere I want, talk, buy, and they're stopping that. It's and the police are okay with that. They're blocking and protecting that area. It doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, I didn't really feel like I could see everything. The White House and all that, that's just, there's like a whole nother protocol to even go into the White House. You can't get a White House tour unless you contact your congressman, is what I heard,
Yeah. Yep.
and go
That's
through a
100% true.
thorough background check for 3 weeks.
Yes. It's 100% true.
Yeah. So, well, okay. Um, so I wanted to ask you, well, since my podcast is about, survivors of domestic violence, giving them a voice. What is your experience with domestic violence, and what do you know about it? Because a lot of people have a different view on what they consider to be domestic violence. I feel like it is all over our society. It's in all different shapes and sizes, and it has a long lasting effect psychologically on people. What do you know, and what can you tell me that'll, I guess, enlighten me, because I didn't even think that you experienced any, and I don't know you so well, but a lot of people do sometimes see themselves as victims. What I teach my listeners is that they're not victims, they're survivors. And, they're badass for going through what they did and being here today. Because a lot of people don't make it out, and a lot of people just continue to live their miserable lives with their abuser in the home.
No, this is true, and I think that's a beautiful way to look at it. You're not a victim. You're a survivor, 100%. And like you said, there's so many different forms of domestic violence and domestic abuse. If I could speak, sorry about that. Um, but throughout my life, I've had friends and family and things like that you could see things. I mean, talk down to someone over and over again always make someone feel like crap. That's a mental and emotional abuse, and you see it. Um, but I think there is a way for men to grow out of that. I think men can. I mean, there's no excuse. They should never do it, and a woman should get out as soon as possible. Get away, save yourself, be a survivor, be strong. That man needs to work on his own issues. I think one of the major issues in our country is we don't have enough God. I think most people that I've ever seen that are religious people that go to church on Sundays, they seem to be stronger. They seem to be a better relationship. They seem to, grow closer together. And things can change very drastically when you have God inside your heart. You have a better outlook on life.
I totally agree with that, because Um, I'm religious, but when I stopped blaming God for all my problems and asking Him, "What are you trying to teach me?" Perspective is everything with God, and I think a lot of people just expect God to give them this beautiful life and not work for it, not do anything, not struggle and overcome issues, just see themselves as the victim. So, what do you think about that? How's your mindset with that? Do you think, because once you do find God and it's like another person like who has your back, and it feels like your heart's a little lighter. And I felt that at least this year alone when I realized my mentality was preventing me from having that relationship with God.
I actually can't disagree. It's one of the things that has lightened my the load on my shoulders. It's made me feel stronger. It's made me feel more passionate about things. It's made me feel awakened in a lot of ways. When I found God, like I told you earlier, I don't, and you actually mentioned it in the beginning. I don't kneel for anyone but God, and because He's always got my back, and He is my Lord of Lords, my King of Kings. That's why I had no fear when I went down there to DC. Another reason, I know I'm not alone, and I know if it's my time or it's ready for me to be taken, God, it's up to God. He'll make sure I'm okay throughout everything, and make sure that the darkness turns into light. And it's why I love this country so much, because it is the beacon of light in the world. I mean, it's the most Christian country. The values that this country was created on are Christian. I mean, our founding fathers in the Declaration of Independence mentioned God 5 times, which is incredible. These men were devout Christians who wanted to see a better world, and they created the best world they could come up with at the time.
That's crazy. Well, and on that note, I kind of want to share my little story about religion. And well, I don't really think that my listeners know. If people don't know me from before I started a podcast, well, I just want people to know that I am an immigrant who came here, and one of the freedoms we were searching for was religious freedom. um, and that is why I'm so passionate about the things I'm passionate about, is because our voices here in this country are much louder than in any other country. And I feel like it's only right and it's only my purpose to speak out about things that aren't right, and without just like sitting back and being like, yeah, whatever, it sounds like your problem. The more people we help, the better we become, and the more
Absolutely.
people we touch, their hearts, their minds, their souls, their spirits, I feel like we're just getting to the world that I wish we lived in.
I I can't disagree. That was beautifully said. I'll be honest with you,
Thank
and
you.
I'm so happy. Absolutely, and I'm so happy you actually made it here. I'm happy that you got to America and are able to live your dreams, and to speak out with freedom without fear of being shut down or stopped or told you can't do it. It's
Yeah,
the thing I will.
go ahead.
I was just saying that's the one thing I will absolutely 100% fight for anyone. Like I said, I disagree with the left on a lot of things and most things, but I will let them speak what they want to speak about and think about, because that's their right, and I will defend them for that also.
Yeah, I will too. And I don't really see a difference between each other. I just see a different mindset and different values. And through education, your values change, you through age too. Like about to be in my 30s, and when I was 20 I was definitely a liberal. I mean, I'm in my 30s already, but I'm just saying,
Yes.
when I was in my 20s, the liberal mindset was here, and the more and more I grew as an adult, as a human being, found what's important, became a mother. That was a huge one. When I became a mother, I grew in so many ways. I have to thank my son for that. I thought it was a burden at first, and I was told to have an abortion because I was too young to have, too young by whose standards. In
Sure.
America, we seem to be waiting for that perfect time to start a family, to start a business, to start, to get married. And we have this timeline that we have to, compare with our friends of the same age. It really shouldn't be about that. It's when you're ready, and be ready for whatever comes too. Because I wasn't ready, but I got ready. I did
Absolutely.
everything to get ready. So I think people need to step up and be brave and just rise to the challenge, whatever it is, whatever life brings. God will only put you through what you can handle.
It's true.
And I see that every day. I honestly don't recognize myself because
Well,
He's made me strong.
he has, and like you said, you didn't think you were ready, but he knew you were. He was like, "She's ready for this. I know she is, and it's going to help her grow in a way that she doesn't expect and see." Look who you are now. You run your own business. You have a podcast. You're vocally loud and proud of who you are as an American. You're a great mother. It sounds like I don't know you that well myself, but from what I've seen and I've talked to you, and what you're saying now, these are things that God knew would happen. He's like, she's gonna grow, and it's gonna be amazing to see and beautiful to watch. And you're doing it. I'm
Thank
happy
you.
about it. Yeah, of course.
My name means resurrection. So
I did not know that. That's really cool. That's
yeah,
awesome.
so it's like God just keeps putting me through things, right?
Yeah.
But teaching me things, and I cannot be more grateful for that. And I don't know where I would be without all those experiences, those lessons. And yeah, and I feel like the only way to give back is to prepare the next generation for the things that I wish I didn't experience, the things that I wish I was taught. So, are there things that you think can prevent abuse? And in my podcast, I like to kind of dive in and explain where abuse comes from.
Okay.
So I feel like we experience a lot of it as children, whether we experience it from peers or our family or, strangers. A lot of people experience abuse when they're children, and it stays with them. Kind of might shape them, mold them, but our experience, all of our experiences mold us. So where I feel like we can break the cycle of abuse is through childhood,
100%.
through children. I mean, like, to teach them, like, this is not right, this is not right, this is a red flag, this is a boundary. Did you know what a boundary was? No one taught me what a boundary was, so I was like 28.
The funny thing is they tell us boundaries that don't really mean anything, like the random boundaries. We need to know about boundaries for like, how do you interact with your spouse? How do you interact with your girlfriend? And people don't want to ever talk about that. It's the problem with education. It's always about making you read books that might not have anything to do with your future or your life. I mean, I like reading a lot. I read as much as I can, but I didn't need to take calculus 2 when I was in college, or calculus 1. I was never going to use it. I know I wasn't going to be a mathematician or an engineer, but they force these things on you, which they should have been getting us prepared for life, like basic finances, which is a huge issue with relationships and people. I mean, they freak out about finances, and then they take out their frustrations and angers on someone they care about and love. And it might not be physical, like you said, but it might be emotional, it might be mentally, like, oh, you're dumb because you're not helping out with the bills enough, and they keep belittling you. You're just not smart enough to make enough money for us. I mean, I don't know if I could be with you anymore. And these are things that we're not taught. We're not actually prepared for the real world and in these relationships. We're supposed to watch our parents, which our parents are great, but they make mistakes too. Parents, everyone makes mistakes. We're humans.
Yes, but our parents also, and our grandparents and the rest of our ancestors, we could be carrying their generational curses. So, in my mind, as the first generation American, and I have been told this too by my parents, I'm supposed to come here and make them rich. I was supposed to retire them, but I'm working on it still. I will retire them. They're about 50, 52 right now. So
Okay.
I think I can retire them by 60,
Okay.
65. Yeah.
Beautiful thing. Very good, honorable goals
Working
here.
on it, working on it. How do you know anything about domestic violence? Have you seen it personally? Is there any situation that you remember that kind of shaped you? And before you answer, this is kind of what I'm thinking. My father himself, that whole generation, my mother as well, and her mother, spanking and beating children was like part of life.
Oh,
People don't
really?
do that so much anymore as much. There's still heavy abuse, but more so psychological, emotional neglect. But the beating and stuff like that, like my father decided I won't hit my children. So my
Right.
dad never hit me. He never thought that was what he wanted to do. But my uncle, he would never get spanked, but my dad did. So my dad said, well, when I'm an adult, I'm not going to beat my children, because he was the one who always got it as the oldest. So
Absolutely.
did you ever like experience anything like that? And did you choose to break the curse or continue it, or did you get shaped or molded by it in any way? What do you think?
No,
You
I
don't have to be
definitely think.
specific.
Oh, absolutely. I appreciate that. But I think I definitely experienced some of it in my own life. One of the things I do have, and I can admit, I have flaws. I'm human. I'm not Jesus. I'm not perfect in any way. But I can get very loud and angry, and I yell. Get very. I don't verbally degrade someone, but I can scream and get very powerful, and it can be pretty intimidating to some people. But one thing I promised myself and I promised I would never do is hit a woman. I will never hurt a woman physically. I won't mentally abuse a woman. Um, I grew up in an Irish family, so Irish American family. So there's a lot of guilt. My grandmother used to guilt me all the time for things. Oh, you're not going to come by today. You're not going to mow the lawn, and oh, I might not be here next week. I might not see you, and you're like, oh, and I felt like that pains you. It actually hurts you. You don't think about it until you get older, and you're like, oh, you guilted me into doing a lot of things, and it makes you fearful in a lot of ways. You're like, I don't want to ever miss anything. And I think for a long time, I jumped on the bandwagon to do a lot of different things that I probably shouldn't have done in my younger years. I was also kind of a liberal when I was in my high school years and early college. I did a lot more drugs than I probably should have. I partied a lot harder. I got in a lot more fist fights. I've been arrested a couple of times, and I realized I was always trying to go for that experience, that next part, because I didn't want to miss out, or I didn't want to make one of my friends feel bad because they were like, "Oh, dude, I really want you to come out," and I'd fall for the guilt, and I'm like, I don't need to be guilty for anything. I just got to live my own life, and if I can't make something or I got something else going on, oh, it's okay. And don't
Yeah,
ever do that to someone else. Don't guilt anyone to do something.
that's fair. Um,
Yeah.
intimidating people, manipulating, that's the word,
Yes.
manipulating.
Yes. Manipulation. I don't want to be that, and I also don't want to. I don't want to intimidate people either. So I try to. I'm working on my anger issues when I yell a little bit. I need to work on those.
I'm a yeller too. You know
Oh,
what?
okay.
We're vocal people, you know,
Absolutely.
and again, I agree with you, and thank you for sharing that, because I think the future generations have taught us some things we want to keep, some things we don't, you know.
I love my grandmother. She was awesome. It's just you think about that with my father just being guilted all the time. I can only imagine, and it probably messes you up just a little bit. But he broke it. I mean, he doesn't do that stuff. My dad's a great man. He's had his issues in his life himself, and my mother and him have had issues as in their marriage and things like that. But they've worked through it. They've been together for 42 years. No, sorry, 44 years. So
That's
it's
amazing.
yeah. Well, they found God. My mother was religious. My father kind of was growing up, but not really. They found God together when I was around 13, and their marriage has bloomed. It's been amazing, and it's awesome to see. And my dad will do anything for my mother. My mother would do anything for him, and they're together, and they're not gonna be apart. So until
That's
the end.
awesome. You know what?
Yeah,
I have a similar story about my parents too. They remarried in a church about 8, 9 years ago,
that's
and
beautiful.
since then, like they're just happy and they feel like a lot more connected to each other. And I gotta say, I just want them to be happy, and we just gotta be happy for the fact that they stuck it out and they tried and they
True.
changed for each other, and they didn't break the family up. A lot of people are quitting in our current society, and
True.
things get tough and they want a divorce, and then it's like shaming and blaming, and it gets nasty, and lawyers for years, and who does it hurt in the end?
Yeah, the only person it hurts is maybe the children, and it hurts the next generation. So there are obviously circumstances where you need to leave. We've talked about it, and
Yeah,
I want women to know that, and I want even men to know if you're being abused in any way, and it's not, and it's not going to change. Get out. It's time to
exactly.
get out. Yeah,
Exactly. It's men and women, because men and women, they're both molded a little bit by somebody. So they're seeing this abuse somewhere and think it's normal to treat people that way.
That's 100% true.
So, and like I said, my dad chose to not be an abuser. So, you can
That's a
always make a choice for yourself.
that's a very good thing, and I'm happy your father didn't do that. You raised a great daughter, so
Thank
she's
you.
very smart.
Yeah.
Absolutely,
I love my dad. Yeah. My dad came here with $100 in his pocket
he's an impressive man. It's very good.
in 1995. He worked his ass off and he worked in a facility, I guess, making fireproof doors by like himself and like another dude. Where lived in the warehouse with rats and
Oof.
got paid $10 a day.
Oh, that's terrible. I'm sorry to hear. That's not even
Yeah.
right. That's illegal, and we got away with it.
Yeah. Yeah. So I really do appreciate every single bit of his hard work, and he's my inspiration to just be who I am and like be grateful that I'm here and not in Australia, because that was plan B.
Ooh, I'm happy you're here too. America's much better. It's much better.
Oh my God. Imagine I was in Australia right now. I couldn't even leave my house without texting my government and asking them if it's okay.
Yeah, it's insane.
America.
Yes, please come to America. Stay. I'm happy you came to America. They took all the guns away in Australia now too.
I know, and I love guns. They're
Oh,
so
you're a
much
shooter.
fun.
They're awesome. Very good
Well,
time.
Doug, I wanted to ask you what is in the future for you in the next 5 years? Where do you see yourself, and do you have any ambitions or goals or anything specific, or anything you want to accomplish in 5 years, or where do you see yourself?
In 5 years, I don't know. That's a pretty hard question to think about. I mean, I try to live every day, day to day, um, and live in the moment, which I make mistakes and don't always. But in 5 years, I'd like to live somewhere either with a big plot of land or down south near a beach, so I could go swimming every day. Uh, I plan on staying probably in the construction industry. I really like the physical labor. I like the physical work, but I'd like to get more vocal and more active in local politics, state politics, and things like that. I think I could do.
Oh,
Oh, you can't
you're
hear me.
good.
I'm so sorry.
You're good now. Go ahead. Local politics is where we left off.
I apologize. Local. I'd really. I think I can make a bigger difference locally and maybe state-wise, uh, more so than I can nationally. At least in the beginning and starting, I'd like to get out there more. I'm actually thinking about maybe starting my own podcast, and this is getting me some motivation. Yeah, I appreciate it. This is motivating
Yes.
me
Oh my God. You're like the fourth person that started a podcast
because
after
of you.
me.
That's so cool.
Yes. That's so awesome. Listen, if you find that purpose, and you can find it through God, um, I I think you're on your way, and I think you have a lot to say. And I'm so happy that you said that, because I was also looking into local politics, see what a difference I can make in my community. It seems like they are just electing whoever they want because no one's really running.
It's true. They're in Albany, New York, where I'm from. It's one of the most liberal cities in America. There's never a Republican or a conservative or anyone running against the mayor. It's basically just unopposed. Just might as well walk right in. There's no one ever to fight her or try to take them out, the Democrat or the left. And I think that needs to change. I think people need to wake up. And I think the fear that a lot of the right people on the right have, or they just don't want confrontation, they step back and they don't take that risk or that chance. And I think we need to start promoting people like that or pushing people to do it. I think our next generation really needs to be stronger and more vocal. Republicans seem
Okay.
to always be scared. I don't know if you noticed. Republicans are always scared. They always fall back or falter. Somebody calls them racist. They're like, I'm not a racist. And then they don't say anything. It's like, let them call you a racist. It's not true. And you know that.
Yeah.
Keep
Uh,
speaking out.
we need people like you running. Yes, for sure. I agree. And I loved Albany. I thought it was a beautiful city.
So nice.
Yeah, I mean, Governor Cuomo, I hate you.
I do too. I do too. I can't wait for him not to be governor anymore.
What is wrong with that man and de Blasio? I mean, there's nothing to do in New York City anymore, and it's destroyed.
It is. It's been
It's
taken over by gangs, and basically the violence is going up drastically since he's, let out criminal. I mean, Governor Cuomo's letting criminals out of jail because of COVID. He's like, they're better out there. I don't want them to get sick. they're violent or they're criminals. Like don't.
They're getting out because he's giving them money when they get out. Here you go.
Yeah.
I mean, our governor did the same exact thing. He even sent an email saying, "Oh, if you see any of these people on the street, um, give them your emergency kits and like survival kits that you have on hand." I'm like, what? Yeah, just like what? There's no jobs. If you're
Not at
letting out
all.
criminals out, what are they gonna do? Be criminals. I mean, to
100%.
survive.
I actually went to a local meeting about that with one of my other brothers from the group, and we listened to it. And it was one of the main concerns we said: if you're letting people out, they need to have an economic motivation or a job waiting there and be prepared for. Because let's be honest here, if I went to jail and I got out and I had no job, I'd probably go back to selling drugs or doing things that I shouldn't be doing because I have no prospects to make money and survive and eat and have a life. I mean, it sounds terrible, but without money you can't do anything, and it's kind of
No.
it's the way the world works.
Yeah, no. And, I really do want to end the podcast with a message of hope. My message of hope is hopefully, we can just stay united. And even if we have opposing views, not see each other as enemies, see each other as just different people. But we should all just be, I guess, ready for whatever. And try meditating and just relax and limit yourself to how much media you're exposing yourself to, whether it's social or the news. It feels like a lot of the stress is coming out from that. And domestic violence rates are increasing in our
Oh,
homes.
absolutely.
um Extremely. Our police are working, but there's nothing really much to do. I don't think a lot of people know, but the court system is all online, and a lot of people are affected by it because it's very, very slow. And there's a lot of things going on with that. So people are suffering in different ways, and we have to be, I guess, have some kind of empathy for others because we don't know what other people are going through. Some people don't have jobs, some people haven't eaten. I just want to pray for everyone to just, stay positive and just don't fight with your neighbor. Love your neighbor. Maybe just call all your parents and grandparents and everyone and just kind of get on the same mindset, I guess, and in the
Absolutely.
positivity aspect. We're not doomed. We're still here. We're still fighting. Whether we agree with each other on politics or vaccines or whatever, we have to just come together as Americans. That's what we
Amen.
got to do. What do you got to say to all my fans, all the millions of fans that listen to me?
Oh, there's so many. It's a little intimidating. I'm not gonna lie. But I am.
I appreciate you, Doug, so much, so much. And all your friends that I met, true gentlemen. I
Thank
have
you.
nothing nice to say about Antifa, but I have so many nice things to say about the Proud Boys. And I really hope that, if someone else wants to come on, that's a Proud Boy that wants to, have their voice heard,
Absolutely.
I'd love for that, because all we hear is how horrible you guys are, but really bodyguards. That's what I see you guys are. Bodyguards for the weaker, or, the shorter or the
Thank
smaller
you.
people. you know. Do you want to
Thank you.
end this podcast with a message of hope?
Absolutely. Just know that you're not alone. Reach out to your friends and family. Reach out to God. Pick up the Bible. Pick up a book. Just know you're never alone. There's always people out there that want you in this world, that want to help you. I know suicide rates are on the rise also because of COVID and being locked down. And I want people to know that it's never too late, and you're not alone ever. Reach out to your local Proud Boy chapter. We're welcoming to all men. We'd love to have you back if you feel alone at that moment. We're definitely able to talk and sit down. Just see our core tenets, and we'll be with you. You'll be a brother as soon as you can. I mean, we're not going to leave you alone. We're not going to leave you behind. I agree that this country is filled with people with different ideas and different routes to get to pretty much the same goal. I think having people live a great life, pursuit of happiness, be happy, have land, have property, and live the American dream. I just hope we could come up and or people can be awoken and see, there is a better way with less government to get there instead of more government. And but in the end, I just want us all to be happy, and I just want us to make it through this whole thing. And find also go out and find yourself an incredible American woman, and she'll make your life better. It'll make you a stronger man. It'll make you want to fight, and it'll make you want to wake up and take action and not sit back and let things happen and let things go by.
Amen. I love
Yes.
that. Thank you so much, Doug. And
Thank
where
you.
can people find the Proud Boys? Just like searching online and, emailing them, or how do you find your local chapter?
Absolutely. You just go on and you look up the Proud Boys membership, and there's actually a website we have. You go right on and you check it out, and you can find your local chapter, your local state and local. There'll be a couple lists of depending on what state you're in. Some states only have one, other states have multiple. Like New York has, I think, 5 chapters. So you reach out to them through an email, and we'll reach out to you, and we'll see how things go. We'll meet up with you, and we'll talk to you, and we'll see if you're a candidate.
Amazing. Amazing. Thank you so much, Doug. I'm grateful
Thank
for
you.
you. I'm
God
grateful
bless.
for this interview. And I can't wait to hear your podcast.
Absolutely. Hopefully it'll be sooner than later now. I mean, this is really motivating me. I've enjoyed myself. Thank you for this whole time. I appreciate the great questions and the good time. Thank you.
Awesome, Doug. Thank you so much. Thank
Great
you for
meeting you.
listening to the Bad Mom podcast. I hope you enjoyed hearing this different perspective from a Proud Boy member. Doug was so kind to share his perspective and his stories about, what went on in Washington, D.C. this weekend. I just want my listeners to be more open-minded and accepting of different values and views. We really need to work on that. And I myself need to work on that. If anybody is alone and needs support, please feel free to reach out to me at the Bad Mom Podcast at gmail.com. You can find me on Instagram, the Bad Mom Podcast. Like, share, and subscribe. And I'm happy to announce this is my first episode of season 2. And woo, I did
Yeah.
it.
Woo!
Okay. Thank you so much. And to all my fans, I love you very much.